Hello, and welcome to the Yale School of Management MBA for Executives webinar about the most frequently asked questions. My name is Maria Stutzmany-Marquez, and I serve as the Associate Director for the MBA for Executives program. And I'm here with my colleague, David Daniel, who serves as the Assistant Director. We are really pleased to have you join us today. Thank you for taking time out of your lunch period, perhaps, or if you're on the West Coast, maybe this is an early morning coffee break. So we appreciate it. So part of what we'd like to do today is to provide you with less of an overview of the program and more, we're willing to address some of the most frequently asked questions that come to us through the admissions office. And so our hope is to provide you with some nuances, some more details, and hopefully get to some of your questions as well. So we have the next 45 minutes, and that will largely be, we've taken the liberty of asking some of the questions for you, but our fearless colleague Liz Fischio is in the background taking questions as we go. So please feel free to pose those questions to her. And I also want to thank Media Services, Donnie and Dan, for setting us up for today. So as we kick off, just to set the context, we are inside Evans Hall. You can see that on the picture here. We're located in the Indra Nooyi classroom, which is on the 4th floor. This building is quite unique to Yale campus. It is not done in the Gothic style of architecture, and it was designed by Lord Norman Foster, who is a graduate of the School of Architecture in 1962. And the idea here is to really represent transparency in business. So from one end of the building to the next, you can really see through almost all the offices and can basically have a sense of what's happening within the entire university here at the School of Management. So it's quite unique. We hope you can come to visit us. And while this is still a very new building for us, it was built in 2014, the School of Management itself was launched in the 1970s, and it was really a very innovative graduate school program. It started and was founded on the idea that we would educate leaders for business and society, and started with a master's program in public and private management, which I think kind of blends well with the idea that we're doing work for both the private sector, the public sector, and really across the broader society. So as we move forward, this is a wonderful picture of Yale campus. This is the very Gothic style of architecture here, and at Yale School of Management, it's really important that we're integrated across all of Yale University. So we're seated just outside of the home college, and part of what I really love about where we're at is that we have access to all of the resources and opportunities across Yale. So part of that access means that we do have an open door. And so this is a photo taken from inside Sterling Library, and it's a really beautiful structure. I think we learned from our dean more at the most recent orientation that it was actually built upon all of the stacks in the office are actually the structure that's holding it up. So I hope that at some day when you come to visit us at Yale School of Management, you can also take a tour of some of our fine libraries and other buildings across campus. So the reason I spoke so much about where Evans Hall is and also Yale University as a whole is because part of our mission as we educate leaders for business and society is also to make sure that we're integrated across the university. And so we utilize professors from the School of Drama, we utilize professors from the School of Forestry and Environmental Sciences or Studies, and it's really in our nature to connect in that way so that you're able to get the best education possible as you're leading within your organization and within your industry. We also hope to be the most global U.S. business school, and we'll share more about the Global Network for Advanced Management. And our third objective is to be the best source of elevated leaders across regions and sectors. So very excited to share more with you, and we would be remiss if we didn't share about our mission. So please feel free, as I mentioned, Liz Fischio, our Assistant Director, is taking live questions, and we'll be able to pose those to us throughout our time today. So now we're going to start with one of our most frequently asked questions. So who actually attends this program, and who is this program? So share a little bit about that with us.
Sure. So before I dive into specifically who, I'd like to talk a little bit about what in common our students have, because there's actually a lot that they don't have. It's a very diverse group, as you'll see in just a second. And what really, I think, unites our students is that they're they're a community of purpose. And so as Maria mentioned just a second ago, the School of Management was founded with this mission to educate leaders for business and society. And that is a mission that all of our students share. They're here in order to gain an education so that they can provide value to their companies, but more than that they can provide value to their communities on a local and a global scale. So our students are very much a community of purpose. Now, practically who they are, so we're going to talk in just a second about the class of 2021. They just got here a few short weeks ago, and they were here for their 2 weeks of orientation and residence. So they have an average of about 12, 13 years of experience. They're 36% women. 41% of our students already have advanced degrees, which means that they're coming with a fair amount of technical experience already. They are very global, so you can see we have a number of different countries represented in our student body, and they're an average age of about 37. So mid-career, a good amount of experience, and particularly technical and leadership experience under their belt, and here united by that desire to make a difference.
Absolutely.
So when is the right time in your career to consider a program like this, Maria?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most interesting questions that we get, because for everybody it's quite unique and individual to them. So I think what I can share with you is kind of who are the people that we see who are interested in the program. So these profiles might really fit where you're at today. We see people who are really interested in accelerating their career and creating more access through opportunities that they may not have otherwise unless they were involved in some type of an educational program at the graduate level. These are seasoned leaders. Oftentimes they're moving through their career. They've already gained a number of experiences. They have a number of responsibilities, or they've been positioned to take on more responsibilities in the next 2 to 3 years. As David mentioned, they have about 13 years of overall experience, but we have a wide range. So our minimum requirement is 5 years of experience, and we have people with 20 plus years who are really leading within their organizations. I would say that having a demonstrated career evolution that is really focused on leadership and leadership potential. So you might have responsibilities over a pretty significant size budget. You might be investing in large sums. You also might be managing a number of people. And also people who are really at the cusp of doing that. So they're in a place where that is their next step, and they really feel like they need to build their business acumen, and they want to be around other thought leaders in the space who are able to help them expand their capacity and really have a broader impact. And as you mentioned, the community of purpose. So this isn't really always it's also about having an impact within their organizations, but also as that organization then impacts the community and beyond. So that's who's primarily. So all that said, you can have all of these attributes and be in a place where you're really considering this, and you might also have an MBA. So we do get this question a lot. Can you still apply?
Sorry, you can't. Unfortunately, so 75% of the program is really focused on general management, advanced management. And with that in mind, we want to avoid duplicative learning. And so we really want to focus on students for who this is new material. So unfortunately, we generally don't accept applications from MBA holders. That being said, there are a number of great opportunities here at the School of Management, particularly within our executive education program. So if you're looking for continued education beyond an MBA, we definitely encourage you to give those a look. But unfortunately, the MBA for executives is probably not the right program.
And one of the programs that I would highlight within that is the Yale Global Executive Leadership Program. It is an on-campus experience over the course of a year, and I think it's actually something that quite a few people turn to if they already have their MBA.
So Maria, tell me a little bit more about the areas of focus and how someone might know if they're aligned with one of the areas of focus.
Yeah, so this is really unique to our program. When we started out with the only focus being healthcare. And this really came from a deep desire to better train practitioners and clinicians who were moving into administrative roles and who were taking on more responsibilities outside of their practice. And so We have continued to build upon that and have included in the last 5 years the areas of sustainability and asset management. I want to share with you a little bit more about the healthcare curriculum. As David mentioned earlier, 75% of the curriculum is going to be general management. And so this is really the 25% that will be incredibly focused on that most interests you, especially as it relates to your own experience overall. So Dr. Howard Foreman is in the top left-hand corner. He teaches healthcare policy, finance, and economics. Not only is he an attending radiology at Yale New Haven, he holds his MBA from Wharton, and so he is positioned really well to influence academics, not only at Yale College, but at the Yale School of Public Health, and also within our program here. He does teach electives, I think, also for Yale SOM full-time students, and is really quite an advocate and also a thought leader in the space. And so he has a pretty active Twitter feed. If you haven't seen it yet, you can always check that out at the Howie. But he's been a great advocate, and he's very much engaged with our students. He'll host noontime chats with them to talk about new updates in policy, and just to talk about the industry as a whole, especially with rising pharmaceutical costs and the changes with the Affordable Care Act. So lots to discuss. We also have a new class. This is taught by Dr. Marcela Nunez-Smith. It's population health and health equity. And I think what's great about this class is that we're really kind of broadening that sense of where are the issues that we're facing today, and especially in equity and serving vulnerable populations. She is the faculty director for the Posen Commonwealth Fund Fellowship. This is a fellowship that is an opportunity for those who have demonstrated commitment in serving vulnerable populations to apply to have essentially tuition covered for the full MBA, for our MBA for Executives program. So we're really, if you have an interest in that, I would direct you to one of our other webinars. You can look through online at previously recorded and pull up that information. We also have a number of recent articles on the inaugural fellows and some of their profiles, so I encourage you to check that out. So I could talk about this and go through all of the faculty. We really wish that you would look at the curriculum online to get a sense of, I guess, the details about what these courses might bring to you. And to go back to David's original question, like what might make this a good fit for you, I think part of what we're hoping for are students who are already well positioned within the healthcare industry. So within this group, we have people who are coming from practitioner basis. So Dr. Charles Powell is a surgeon. He is in respiratory care at Mount Sinai, a recent graduate. And fun fact, he actually graduated with his daughter this last year, who graduated from Yale College. And he was somebody who was already carrying out so many larger responsibilities and needed to build this business background in order to be as effective as possible. And so we have a number of different profiles within our program, but one thing that is our aim is to really create a level of diversity so that there are multiple perspectives throughout. So as you hear us talk about the different profiles, please note that we're really hoping to see a broad range of kind of the full value chain within healthcare, asset management, and even sustainability, so that there is that dialogue and so that it can be a dynamic and very inclusive conversation about how to create change and solve some of these larger complex issues. So I'd love to hear more about sustainability.
Yes. So sustainability, as Maria mentioned, was added at the same time as asset management. So we're in our 5th year now. And the faculty director for the sustainability area focus is Todd Court. And Todd Court, in addition to being a lecturer in sustainability here at the School of Management, also is a faculty co-director at the Center for Business and the Environment at Yale, which represents a partnership between the School of Forestry and Environmental Sciences and the School of Management, showing both our connection to the rest of broader Yale, as well as our commitment as an institution to sustainability. Now for us, with our sustainability area of focus, how we define sustainability, it's really focused primarily in this coursework, as you'll see, on issues of climate change and environmental impact and the role that businesses have in this. And so one course in particular that I'd highlight is climate change, which is taught by Doug Kaiser, and it's a very popular course in sustainability. And it really focuses on law, on policy, on the legal framework facing sustainability so that our students can look at, what are the challenges that they're facing now, but also really the overarching aim is to give an idea of how our students can be best prepared for the ramifications of climate change in the future, and what they can do to mitigate, to respond, and how their businesses can not only be sustained, but to continue to work sustainably in the future. So sustainability is probably the broadest of our 3 areas of focus as it relates to industries that our students are coming from. Whereas healthcare or asset management, it's a little bit more clearly defined. Sustainability brings students from a number of different industries. So as a couple of different examples here, we have Anna Williams, who just graduated, who is a lead procurement manager for Shell in Houston, Texas. A current second-year student now, we have Dacio, who is, he works in asset management, and he is passionate about sustainable investing. And then finally, another type of example that we're starting to see more is people directly in sustainability roles at their organizations. So we were pleased to welcome Sammy a few weeks ago, who is the director of the Office of Sustainability at PepsiCo.
What a great group. And just to tie in what you were mentioning about Dr. Todd Court, he works at this nexus of corporate social responsibility and financial investing. And so you can see why Dacio or somebody with that profile might be interested in taking more classes, especially as they're considering the research that they need to do to be effective in their investment strategies. So asset management, so speaking of Dacio, why did Dacio decide to go with sustainability versus asset management? We really have a robust core group of classes here. Dr. Will Getzman, who is in the middle right, he teaches portfolio management, alternative portfolios. He is the faculty director, and so he curates the colloquium speaker series and really demonstrates leadership within this area of focus. And what I'd like to say about the curriculum here is I want you to think about it as theory-based on one side and then also very hard skills driven on another. So we are leaders in the behavioral finance and behavioral management courses, and so we have a very wonderful class taught by Professor Nick Barberis, who's a leader in the space, and behavioral finance is really about how people make decisions as good stewards of other people's capital. And so I think that's a great course, a lot of great feedback for that one. The Future of Global Finance with former Dean Gartner. That's an interesting one because I had the rare opportunity to sit in on a class the first year that I was here, and he had all of the students present on disruptive technologies that are impacting the financial industry. And so it was interesting for me as somebody who comes from higher ed to learn more about blockchain, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, thinking about how artificial intelligence and machine learning is being used, data analytics. So I think that while there may not be a specific course on those topics, these are addressed throughout the program. We know that they're relevant, and we have an amazing group of finance faculty here to support. So let's talk about our students in that group. So it's interesting with asset management, similar to healthcare, we really have the expectation that you would have a number of years of experience within the financial industry. We've had us who are traditional portfolio managers. Clearly, Renee is an investment banker. Ishul is doing risk and compliance. And we also have people coming, like Daniel, who's working kind of in the cross between the private and the public sector. And so, I would encourage you to, again, read through the coursework and better understand what might be expected within that, and also know that there's a number of resources and other faculty here to work with. So this is, speaking of all those other resources and having access to all of that, we know that this is a major time commitment, so I think our audience would like to know more, what exactly is the time commitment for this program?
Sure. So as you mentioned, Maria, it is a pretty major time commitment. So the program runs over 22 months, and during those months, there are a number of different ways that you're interacting with the program. So the first is that you're going to be here every other weekend for through August through May in both of those years. So that's a Friday, Saturday weekend. And then in addition to that, there are 4 separate weeks over the duration of the 22 months that you're out of the office. 3 of those you're here on campus at Evans Hall. In one of those weeks, you are going to be abroad for a Global Network Week. So that's 2 weeks in the first year here on campus at the very beginning, your Global Network Week in between the first and second, and then 1 more week in residence at the beginning of your second year. So that's a lot of time and it adds up, and that's over 60 days out of the office. Now that being said, all that time we design it so as to be accessible and for it's meant for working professionals. So it's definitely it's an intense 2 years, but a really valuable one designed for you to be able to get the most out of the program. So here's a broad overview of what the program looks like. In your first year, you're going to be with students from across all areas of focus, and you're going to be doing your introduction to management. You're going to be going through the integrated core, and really in the first year, your only area of focus exposure will be through colloquia. In the second year, you take a deep dive with advanced management courses, and then into your area of focus courses as well. So this is a broad overview. Some of our other webinars, we go into a deeper dive of what the curriculum looks like. But here's what a general average weekend looks like. So classes start at 9 a.m. on a Friday. So you're here bright and early. Many of our students are here even earlier than that, just making sure that they're ready. And they run through Friday into generally the late afternoon, early evening, at which point our students have the option to generally take part in one of many different cross-campus activities that we have. And those are really designed to help our students make the best use of the resources that Yale has to offer and be connected to life at Yale. Saturdays, I said Friday was bright and early. Saturday is even earlier because we're trying to get you out the door because we know that you have families and jobs, and so we want to make sure that we make the best use of your time. So you start at 8 o'clock and you run all the way through until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then at that point, we have a lot of optional workshops that our programs team, and particularly my colleague Dolores, put a lot of work in leveraging a lot of the resources around Yale for you to learn some skills that you would not necessarily get normally in the course of an MBA. So this is what it looks like the majority of the time that you're here on campus. And so how much time do you actually need getting here? Well, that will definitely depend on where you are. New Haven is pretty centrally located between New York and Boston. So you can take the train here. You can fly into a number of airports around here. There's an airport here in New Haven that's a little bit smaller, but we're also an hour and a half away from LaGuardia, JFK, and about 45 minutes away from Bradley and Hartford. So it's fairly easy to get here, and we see this because we have students coming from as far as the West Coast. But as you consider, what is the time commitment, definitely take a look at, explore how to get here, and that's, we'll talk about a little later, we encourage you to come visit campus. That's one of the things to pay attention is what is your commute gonna look like when you come visit?
We have a physician who's flying from Denver, Colorado, and so even prior to making the decision to apply, she came to visit campus a couple of times. I'm not saying that this is like a standard, but part of that was really testing to see what this would look like, and I would encourage you to figure out what that commute is because that does take some time, and there are some nuances about flying into Bradley and New Haven as well.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, Maria, how is the MBA different?
Yeah, so we think in this question, what we hope to answer is really the difference between the full-time MBA, which takes place Monday through Thursday during the week, and different from our program, which is the Friday, Saturday. So if we're looking at this 2-year spectrum, the timing of the global network is quite different. Ours happens in June, and it's a requirement, whereas the full-time students have theirs in March and October, and it's not necessarily a major requirement. It's a part of an option for them. We also have the area of focus, which is very distinctive, and then also the executive course, which may end in the first year for the full-time and actually ends in the second year for us. So those are the primary differences. The things that are the same that I think are really important about who we are as an organization and as we intend to really elevate leaders for business and society is our integrated core curriculum. And so I think the number one thing to take away from this is that These are the titles of our courses. So we do not teach by functional role or functions. We teach by organizational stakeholder perspective. And so as you can see throughout this, these are the different number of perspectives that any one leader at the executive level might need to have influence over, understanding of, empathy towards, in order to make some of those best decisions regarding, the growth of the company, the health of it, and even as that company decides to change, as markets change, how can you do that in a way that's actually going to be sustainable for the long term, but also be beneficial to consumers and other stakeholders. So one of these courses that we can dive deeper into is sourcing and managing funds. So what you can see here, just as an example, is that we utilize different functions like finance, strategy, operations, and accounting within sourcing and managing funds. So we have people who have been endowed large investments towards their organizations, and how are they going to actually manage these funds now? How are they going to allocate resources to specific initiatives? And so this gives you a little bit of the nuanced problem solving around how to do that at the executive level. The other thing to know about the stakeholder perspectives is that it really is intertwined. So we have professors who are teaching co-teaching courses together. So we're not going to have one professor who's coming with all backgrounds, but you might have somebody like Eddie Pinker who will teach operations engine as a whole class, but may also come in and teach a class in sourcing and managing funds. Might also have another professor like Stanley Garska come in and teach some of the accounting. So I think if you're interested in learning more, I would absolutely encourage you. We have a webinar where our Dean, David Bach, speaks really into the integrated core curriculum and can provide more insight. Again, come and sit in on a class. So the advanced management courses, I'm going to speed up here just a little bit in full transparency so that we can get through some of these other slides, and I want to be able to answer some of the questions that you've already posed. The advanced management courses are another deep dive, and these courses were selected based on the attendance rates for full-time students. So these are the most popular elective courses that our full-time students take, and so we wanted to have those available. So while you have a couple of options between financial reporting or entrepreneurship and new ventures, there are 5 courses that we feel are really beneficial, and we want our MBA students to also take those. So I know the original question is like, what is the difference? That is the difference. We have curated these courses for you. We understand your busy schedules, and you have a lot to shuffle. During your time here, we want to make it as seamless as possible. And so I mentioned the Global Network Week, which is held in June, and I just wanted to highlight a few. So our Global Network for Advanced Management, if you have not heard about it, look us up online. It was co-founded by our Dean, Ted Snyder, and it hosts 30 top business schools across 28 countries. And so our students participate by taking a Global Network Week. These are courses taught at perhaps IE Business School in Spain, where they're talking about digital transformation with some of the top professors there. And it's a really wonderful week, and we've heard from our students about their overall experiences and how it can be transformative. That said, self-directed study is another area that you basically have options. Our full-time students in their second year can take carte blanche courses across all graduate programs. Our students have a little bit of flexibility to experience some of that, so they can decide to do an academic independent project or study. You can see Rashawn did this study with Dean David Bach as her faculty advisor, and it actually turned into an opportunity for her to move into a consultancy role within the pharmaceutical space. So it was very exciting. We also have a number of electives that students can take. So if you have a lot of capacity and flexibility in your work environment and are able to come to Yale SOM to take a course with some of our full-time students, you absolutely can do that. We have one of our students is taking a course or took a course last spring with Bob Schiller, Nobel Prize winners in economics. And we also have Thursday night electives, which are curated by our academic affairs team. Last spring, there was one, a Toolkits for Change, taught by Peter Boyd, who is also like second to to Richard Branson with Virgin. And so just to be able to be connected and learn from some of these really wise and innovative people has been quite a pleasant opportunity for our students. There's also the new Ventures Practicum. This is Kyle Jensen. He is the faculty and leader on in the entrepreneurial space here at Yale SOM, and he has this opportunity for students to take a look at maybe an idea and put that out there. It won't necessarily go into implementation, but if you're at the ideation stage and you're really thinking about founding something, this would be a great opportunity. And lastly, we mentioned the Global Network for Advanced Management. You also have an opportunity to take an online, small network online course. Acronym is called SNOX. And in this opportunity, you'll be seated in an online classroom with 30 other students from around the global network to talk about things like global implications of fintech innovations. This is taught at Hong Kong University. And so there's more options for you. So given all of that, you're already busy, and so do you have to attend every class?
Yep. So you do, and it's important. We really curate this entire program to give you a full, rich experience. It's not MBA light. With that in mind, we have, as of a few years ago, introduced a new opportunity for our students, which is the extended classroom, which is a way that our students can attend some classes remotely. There are limitations to how often you can use it. For example, you can't use it subsequent class weekends, but it's designed for the week where you have the time to be in class, but you don't have the time to make it to New Haven. You can take that, and as you'll see, our students are literally in the back of the classroom on the television screens, and they are interacting with faculty and with their peers. So this does add flexibility for our students who are busy and have other things going on.
Yeah, and also like in times when there's difficulty getting here, right, and travel. So how are the classes taught? So we have a really unique method of teaching. What I would say more broadly is that every faculty member, every professor is going to have a different style. Our classes are taught in a lecture style, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be interactive. And so this is how we engage students through the raw case method. So many of you have probably heard about a cooked case. A cooked case is when you are given a stack of information and it's already been solved for you, but you're reading through it to better understand the nuances within that case. We have a team of researchers who put together raw cases. These utilize multimedia, so you get to read articles, you get to see financial statements, you get videos, interviews with team members of those organizations, and it's really how we research and better understand issues in today's age. We are resourceful, right? We're only going to look for information outside or that's available to us. And so our students, what they do is they pair up in learning teams, and with your learning team, you basically dissect some of these raw cases together and really have a better understanding of the overall context of the case, but what are the solutions? And because they're not solved, it gives all of our students an opportunity to really act as the COO, the CEO, and other major players in decision making. And of course, at the end, the professor will provide what actually happened, and then there's debate and discussion around that. So these are just examples. I brought up the learning teams to know that these will be your teammates throughout your first year. These are the people that you rely on. It's a diverse group of people coming from the asset management, healthcare, and sustainability focus areas with different levels of experience, seniority, backgrounds, different regional locations, different life experiences. And so it's really meant to support each other's strengths, and so that you're able to really develop great case solutions and really be able to finish up on projects or presentations that you might have within the courses. So the reason I brought that up is because how are these classes taught? You're going to have projects, you're going to have papers, you're going to have exams. None of the exams are given during the class. We want you to be in class and have access to faculty and TAs. So all of the exams happen away from the Friday, Saturday. So this is one of the bigger questions. How do students fund their education? You mentioned that this is a huge investment of time and energy. So how does this work?
Yeah, so I'll touch on this briefly, and I'll direct you to another recent webinar that we held with Rebecca Melville, who's a director of financial aid for the School of Management. But it is a major investment. For this past year, it was about $187,500. Now that includes many different things, as you can see in the list on the left. So there's a lot of value that they're getting there, but you're probably wondering, how do you pay for it? And as you see on the right, there are a number of different options that our students make use of, and they'll generally make use of a combination. So, they'll fund it out of pocket, they may have military benefits or employer benefits, they may take some loans, in addition to that, we also have a limited number of merit and need-based scholarships. So I encourage you to explore all those options. Definitely check out that other webinar where Rebecca goes into a lot of depth, and start to look into what you might have available to you already. So if you're in the research phase, which if you're here today, you probably are, what should your next step be?
Well, your being here is actually quite fantastic, and we've had a number of questions coming through, so we will get to those. Certainly join us on campus. We host information sessions. We're hosting twice this month on a Saturday. We start at 10, end at about 1:30. So come join us here or at a regional event. You're also welcome to online. If you click on the pre-assessment request, it's essentially an opportunity for you to submit your LinkedIn profile or a CV or resume, and anyone on our team will be able to support you in providing you feedback and also giving you some guidance around when is the right time, what is the right focus area. And I know many of the questions that have come through thus far are in that range, so we'd be happy to host and really just do a resume review with you and talk about your next steps. Is there anything that I'm missing about what else they could do?
No. But there's some great questions about areas of focus and what really aligns with your specific case.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the pre-assessment is the best way to get answers for that, because every case is going to be different.
Absolutely.
So reach out to us.
Yeah, and we will address some of the questions here soon. So we want to also get through some of the application questions. Since our application is posed to open in the next few weeks. So how do we apply if you're ready?
Yeah, I should say our application should hopefully be live at the end of next week. So just mark your calendars, and we will announce when it is live as well. So the first thing to do is to submit your application by the round deadline. We have 3 round deadlines, which I'll touch on in a minute. We then do some review internally. We send out interview invitations. You'll then come to campus and interview. We then do some more review, and then we release our decisions. And the timeline for that is actually pretty clearly laid out. So as you can see, our round 1 deadline is October 30th, round 2 is January 30th, and round 3 is March 30th. Now, in terms of what you'll need for the application, so you'll need a resume, you'll need 2 essays, you'll need 2 letters of recommendation. We require test scores, so we accept the GMAT, the GRE, or the EA. Now, I did get a quick question about the EA and what score we require, what's an average. So while we don't have averages that we would communicate, what we would encourage you to target on the EA is about a 150, with 10 on each of the 3 subsections. If you're not familiar with the EA, we definitely encourage you to check it out. And we have another recent great webinar with Eric Chambers from GMAC, where he goes into a lot of depth about how the EA was created, and some great test tips. Next, we require transcripts from your undergraduate and beyond work. There's an employer approval form, which what that means is, so with the major investment of time that this program takes, it's important for you and for us to know that you are going to be able to take that time out of your work. And so what that is your employer is committing to time sponsorship for you across the 22 months. And how that works is in the form you identify who at your organization can offer that for you. If you're self-employed, you can. There's a way for you to indicate that. And then once we submit interview invitations, as soon as you sign up for an interview, within the next 24 hours or so, an email is generated to the person that you indicated, where they fill out a form letting us know that they do hopefully approve. And then finally, there's an application fee, and we do offer some candidates interviews, and an interview is required if we offer it. So. Yeah, so moving on, you are probably left with many questions, which we'll try to answer in the next few minutes, but we are here to be resources for you. And so this is our staff, and we encourage you to reach out to us, ask us questions now as we move forward, and also, if you have not done so yet, come to campus, but the best resource probably for you to start is a pre-assessment. Get in touch with us with your resume or LinkedIn profile, where we can provide personalized feedback. But yeah, so let's dive into some questions. So Maria, I have a question for you. So how do we consider work experience versus professional experience in the application process for the MBA, for example?
Yeah, so when we're thinking about work experience and professional experience as a whole, we're looking at somebody's evolution through their career. So, we see a number of different profiles come through, and it doesn't mean that you have to have a very straight line to wherever you're at right now. I think that if you're in an industry and it has really served you well and you enjoy your work and it's something that you're good at and you want to continue to grow within that industry, that might come through within your resume if you've made a couple pivots, but are now really focused in one area. So we have people who are lawyers, who are in the program, who are working on M&A type of work, and they're really involved in corporate litigation, corporate finance, and so sometimes for them, asset management is a real draw. And they've had the experience, and they want to build upon that experience. So that sometimes happens where they may not be directly in the financial industry, but they are serving the financial industry. I think that's what you're asking. I'm wondering if is there anything else about that?
Sure. So one of the questions that we have is asking more specifically about how we view academic experience as well. So how would the committee look at academic experience, especially if someone has been out of school for maybe 15 or 20 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think what I would say is that we really review an applicant's profile. This word may seem overused, but quite holistically. And it's reviewed several times, as David mentioned, not only through the application and the admissions committee and then through the interview committee, but we come back again to the whole person. And so if you've had academic experience in undergrad that was 20 years ago, right now I think what we're looking for is academic readiness, and that can show through with the type of work that you're doing within your day-to-day. And it also comes through with any type of recent certifications, so people who have done like a CFA, a CPA. If you're a physician or a practitioner, you're often tested quite often to get recertified for boards and other certifications. And then we also look at the test scores as an indicator of your readiness for studying and capacity for time. It's really a bit of a proxy on what it might look like for you to undergo a program or study towards a test. So we look at all of those factors. A lot of students have really gone online and found some great resources at other business schools to do pre-MBA math courses, so I would encourage you to take a look if you feel like brushing up on some of those type of quant courses would be important for you. Certainly do that. I think that's a great preparation. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So if I have a question for you, I would say, okay, so can a student, if they're let's say, coming into advanced management, could they take a course in the sustainability focus area courses?
So yes and no. So unfortunately, with the structured nature of the program, what it means is that students are in those area focus courses at the same time. So unless you've figured out a way of being in two places at once, which I'd love to know, you will have to be in your area focus course at the same time that the other ones are happening. So you can't be in those classes at the same time. Many of these courses are recorded, and so you do have a lot of resources available to you. And the faculty are around, your classmates are around, and the program is designed such that those times that you're here on campus, it's a very concentrated experience where there's a lot of richness that you can glean. And we have had many examples of students interacting with their peers and with faculty to gain a lot of meaningful experience and even finding opportunities for crazy things like writing books outside of their area of focus. So while you can't take area focus classes outside of your area of focus, it is designed such that you are gaining from the benefit of others' experience outside of just your area.
Absolutely. And we have one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. So I'm going to encourage you to send all emails if you have any follow-up to emba.admissions@yale.edu, and I'll actually go back just so that you can see some of our emails there. But the last questions is really about, how do I learn more about financial aid options if I'm coming from an international perspective or if you just have more questions about that, I would encourage you to also reach out to our office first. We are happy to provide you with next steps on better understanding what those tools and resources are. But just to close, and I want to thank you, David, thank you, Liz, and thank you, Dan and Donnie, for hosting and for being great colleagues today. And thank you for all of you for joining us for a full 45 minutes of frequently asked questions. I want to encourage you to take a closer look at what this program can do and the potential impact that it can bring. We are all about increasing capacity for people who want to have a positive influence on their organization and beyond, and really who want to elevate their leadership within their current role. So we look forward to meeting you, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.